Hi, and welcome to the AYTM.com Sig Test tutorial video. This video is going to be more helpful to experienced researchers who are familiar working with statisticians to request statistical significance tests in order to prepare their reports. You will learn how to produce these tests on AYTM. You will learn how to check if there is a statistically significant difference between two numbers in the survey and whether they describe respondents' demographics or survey answers. In no time, you'll be crunching numbers and identifying reliable insights without waiting for a statistician to do it for you. Sig Test, or statistical significance test reports, are a very powerful and popular tool. Under the hood, we use T and Z tests, depending on the type of data, to determine if a particular pair of columns or numbers are different enough to be taken seriously under a given confidence level. Why does it matter? Imagine that you ran a survey to see if a new package is better than the old one. And your results are close. Package A was liked by 67.7% of respondents, and the new package B was liked by 75%. Is the difference of 7.3% a fluke or a reliable progress worth investing into the logistics of changing it in the stores? SigTest will be able to give you a clear and quick answer to this and many other questions. For example, we ran a survey about quick service restaurants. One of the early questions was asking respondents to pick a favorite restaurant. One of the goals of the study was to identify whether there were any biases between the genders towards a particular chain. By splitting respondents by gender, you'll see a quick breakout along gender lines without a clear understanding of whether or not the slight differences are a fluke or statistically significant. For example, the split in affinity towards Chick-fil-A between genders looks significant at 65 to 35%. But so does the split for Arby's at 60 to 40%. And the others seem to be somewhat similar. Should I call out those differences in my publication or insights analysis? Or will I be accenting attention on something that does not pass a statistical validity test? Am I missing something important that should be highlighted? SigTest can help you immediately answer this question with confidence. Here is a SigTest report I pulled from the survey with gender as a banner. As you can see, we have two highlighted pairs of cells, one for Wendy's and one for Chick-fil-A. In the first case, you can say that males were more likely to say that Wendy's is their favorite chain than females. The opposite is true for Chick-fil-A. Females were more likely to be loyal to this restaurant brand. Right away, SigTest helped me to confirm my first hypothesis about Chick-fil-A and discover a new one that I could have easily overlooked otherwise about Wendy's gender loyalty bias. What happened to Arby's, you ask? Despite the significant disbalance in love that it received from genders, SigTest Reports has not highlighted the cells because of the low quantity of respondents who have selected the chain as their favorite. There may be something there if we had a larger overall sample size or launch a follow-up survey targeting Arby's customers specifically, but at this level, we don't know if the difference was a fluke of numbers or a legitimate finding, so I'm not calling it out. Later on in the survey, I have a banner based on another question of the survey. It tests whether or not there is a correlation between loyalty to different restaurants and familiarity with food ordering apps. No cells are highlighted in color, but some have bold black highlights, which is still interesting and important to me. I'll explain the logic of highlights a bit later. As it turns out, if you're loyal to Wendy's, you're more likely to be familiar with Grubhub than if you don't eat fast food. If you're loyal to McDonald's, you're more likely to be familiar with Eat24 than if you're loyal to Taco Bell, Burger King, Subway, or Chick-fil-A. Let me show you how to generate such a report. Then I'll give you more details about color coding and how to interpret it. To start, open a stats page of a survey that's either running or completed on AYTM, and locate the Statistical Analysis tab on the sidebar. Depending on your membership plan, SigTests may be either included or available for purchase. Next, make sure that Stat SigTest is selected from the combo box at the top of the sidebar. If you're interested in the crosstab test, please watch the corresponding tutorial video. One of the few choices you need to make to get the report is to select a banner or several banners. A banner is any trait or question from the survey that you want to test for correlations. It's called a banner because in the report it will be presented like a large banner across the top, a group of columns with a joint header. The age banner will look at whether people of different age groups are gravitating to different answers. The gender banner will show differences in preferences between men and women, and so on. If you keep scrolling below the list of traits, you'll see all applicable questions from your survey that can be used as banners. Some questions have too many choices or no numeric values at all. like open-ended questions, and wouldn't be useful for this methodology, so we'll hide them from the list. Adding a question as a banner will split respondents into groups or columns of people who gave different answers to that question, and the test will check if that answer correlates with any other choices they made in the survey. You can select as many banners as you want. If you have a large data set and a lot of questions, it might make it slightly longer for you to get the report from our servers, and it might be overwhelming to make sense of the file. But you have final say over the data you select for export. Next, select your preferred confidence level. Move to 80% to see more highlights, or restrict your data by moving your confidence level to 99.9% if you want to see only the most reliable findings highlighted. If you're not sure which confidence level to choose, we recommend leaving it at the industry standard of 95%. Finally, check the Show Percentages checkbox if you want to see the percentages in the report along with the counts of responses. Now, let's click the magical Run Sig Test Analysis button and wait a few seconds while AYTM servers do the heavy lifting for you. And here's our report. As I've shown you before, we color-code statistically significant cells according to the legend on the second tab. Let's take a look at it. If respondents in a cell are more likely to select something in a different cell of the group at an extremely high confidence level of 99% or higher, they will be highlighted in green, and their counterparts will be highlighted in a lighter shade of green. SigTest always compares cells in pairs. To clarify which cell forms a pair, we also use letters. For example, this cell has a letter B in it, which means that cell A is significantly greater than cell B at over 99% confidence level. To avoid any ambiguity, you can learn more by rolling over the cells and reading a little pop-up note we've created for you. Additional technical information, including the p-value, will be provided there as well. As we see, some cells remain white, but are printed in black bold font. We reserve this style for cells that are still statistically different, but at a lower confidence level, typically from 95 to 99%. The lower end of this range depends on the sensitivity that you set with the slider before running the test. For these highlights, we use lowercase letters. Cells containing letters are significantly greater than those they refer to. Please note that the letters we use in the report are printed in parentheses in each banner up top. Don't confuse them with the letters Excel uses in each spreadsheet to identify the columns. If an answer or trait made no significant difference in answer choices comparing to other options on the same line, corresponding cells will remain light gray. Let's switch back to my report. You can clearly see banners across the top. Each will have a sticky header so that it's always in view as you scroll down the table. Banners will have 2 or more subsets depending on the number of answer choices or trait ranges within them. Percents will add up vertically and sample size will be shown right below every question. Often, lines contain a combination of white and green cells with a mix of upper and lowercase reference letters. To streamline the process and understand what's going on, I concentrate on a line of my interest, go directly to the darker shade cell, and read the content of the pop-up that shows up on rollover. If the note doesn't fit all comments, click Edit Comment and increase its size. More often than not, you'll use Sig Test reports for validating a hypothesis, so you'll have a pair of cells in mind and will be able to answer if there is a statistical difference between them at a great enough confidence level or not. Last but not least, if you run a survey with monadic design, where each respondent is exposed to only one stimulus out of 2 or more potential stimuli, try using monadic banners in your Sig Test report based on the different options you present to respondents. For example, you can create columns split into viewed or not viewed for each stimulus if you want to see whether exposure to a commercial has an effect on purchase intent or brand recall. Alternatively, you may want to compare how exposure to different commercials you tested correlate to particular answers. In this case, select all stimuli as columns and set them all into the viewed position. Composite banners is a more advanced technique, allowing you to create banners out of 2 or more non-overlapping subsets of the data based on demographic filters and filters by answers. You will need to filter them separately first and create a share link for each group, and then add them here as separate banners. That's it for now. Thanks again for watching, and feel free to ping us with questions or to set up a personal demo.